Hi all, welcome to another session on AI Builder. AI Builder is a Power Platform capability that provides us with AI models to take leverage of artificial intelligence to optimize our business as well as to automate the processes. We can either use the already existing pre-built models or we can create our own AI models, which are custom AI models to suit some of the specific business needs. We can see there are already a couple of pre-built models like business card reader, category classification, entity extraction, and etc. and so on. We will see how we can leverage the already existing sentiment analysis model to analyze the sentiment of a text and take necessary follow-up actions. So the business use case that we are trying to implement here is we have a requirement where we have a mailbox that is used to receive feedback about the product sold by a company. It is an unattended mailbox that serves the sole purpose of receiving feedback mails. We need to ensure that we have a system in place that reads every single incoming mail and extract the sentiment of the feedback, and if it is a negative feedback, escalate it to the supervisor for a follow-up action. So to get started, let's head over to Power Automate and create a new flow using when a new email arrives trigger. Let's go ahead and click on create. It will create Power Automate. And once an email reaches the inbox, it will trigger a Power Automate. We will extract the body of the email and use the AI Builder sentiment analysis model to extract the sentiment of the incoming email. So in order to do that, let's add the analyze positive or negative sentiment in text action. And we will mention the language as English, and for text we will give the body as the input. Now ideally this action should output a couple of parameters, out of which one would be the sentiment score as well as the overall sentiment. Now the next step would be we will try to add an HTML to text action so that we can convert the HTML text of the body into a plain text so that we can use that to save to the SharePoint backend, because we will be saving the email body as well as the sentiments in the SharePoint backend list. So we will just give the content as again the body, and it will convert the HTML of the body to a plain text, which is going to be the output of this action. Now let's go ahead and create an item in SharePoint list so that we can save the sentiment and the email body, for which we will use the create item action. We will add the action and mention the SharePoint site where we want the data to be stored, and we will mention the list as feedback analyzer. And in the title and body, we will give the subject of the email as the title. And for the email body, we will use the HTML to text output, which is the plain text content, which has been converted from HTML. And the feedback sentiment score will be the overall text sentiment, which has been output from the analyze positive or negative sentiment in text action. So we will just enter a custom value and we can search for the overall sentiment. You can see there is an overall text sentiment which can either be positive, neutral, or negative. So we'll just select this overall text sentiment, which will contain the sentiment of the email body. Now, as final step, we will add a condition check. And we will add the check to be the overall text sentiment is equal to negative. Then we will send an escalation email to one of the supervisors so that he is informed about the escalation mail that has come. And we will just mention the email address of the supervisor, and we will mention the subject as negative feedback received for product, and we will also give the escalation body for that mail, which will contain the link to the item of the SharePoint list which we created recently, where we have stored the email body as well as the overall text sentiment. Now this completes the creation of the flow. Let's go ahead and save the flow. So the flow has been saved. Now we will test the implementation by sending a negative email first, which is basically the negative feedback for one of the products to the inbox. And we'll see how the Power Automate extract the sentiments for the incoming email. We have drafted a negative feedback for the product, and we are going to send it from one of our accounts to the email account where we have the flow attached. Now let's go ahead and send it. Now let's head over to the flow run history and we can see that the flow has succeeded. Heading into the details, we can see that the extraction of the sentiment from the email body has succeeded. And we can see that the overall text negativity score is 0.89, which is leading towards the negative side of the sentiments. And if you want to see the total overall text sentiment, you can see that there is a parameter called the overall text sentiment, which is mentioned as negative in the output of the action. So the AI Builder has analyzed the overall text and it has given the overall text sentiment as negative. Though you can see that within the sentences it does analysis and it gives different sentiment score. Some of the text like hi could be a neutral sentiment. That is why the first sentiment is actually given as neutral. But when we actually go down, you can see that the actual product feedback paragraph is given as sentiment, which because we have given a very strong negative feedback. And the entire overall text sentiment, combining the sentiments of various sentences, has turned out to be negative, which is going to be the final sentiment of that email body. We have also saved the item data back to the SharePoint list and we can see that it has been saved here and we also have received the follow-up escalation mail which actually gives the link to that new item created asking for taking up necessary follow-up actions. Let's test out a positive email feedback by sending it to the inbox which is connected to the Power Automate and we can see that the flow is now running and it has succeeded. And when we go inside the flow, we can see the sentiment for the email body. The overall text sentiment is considered positive, and we have saved that data back to SharePoint list as well. And we can see the positive feedback has been logged into the SharePoint list. This we did see like how we can use the existing AI model for email sentiment analysis to analyze an incoming email to identify the overall text sentiment of that email and take some necessary follow-up actions. Now we will see more of AI Builder in action in the upcoming videos. Thanks all for watching and stay tuned for another video.